Okay, what's going on, everybody? So, this is about my fifth time recording this today due to some audio issues with my SteelSeries software. Yeah, I should have this pretty down packed by now. Okay, here we go. So, we're going to look at the very basics of filming or game capturing, since we're not actually using flammable film to do this. But filming is a more fun word and kind of indicates exactly what we're doing. We're making movies. Okay. So, step one, and again, this is going to be very basic entry level stuff, just so if anybody's new to the game or if you're not familiar, we're going to get everybody up to speed. So, on foot, you're in first person, you want to go to your third person camera, tap F4 one time. Now you are in third person. To spin your camera around, you're going to hold down Z or Z, depending on what part of the planet you're standing in, and use your mouse, and that is going to pan you around your fella or lady right there. So y'all should all, if you play the game for a month, you probably already know this. So now the next thing you'd want to learn would be how to move your camera around. So for everything else, you're going to hold down F4 while hitting these keys. So for example, if we want to move our camera away from our character here, we're going to hold down F4 and we're going to hold down arrow, up arrow, left arrow, right arrow. That is moving our camera around. And a way to think about this, imagine that you have a anchor point, and the anchor point by default is more or less attached to your character. So to show you, this is the default starting position and we're spinning around our character. Now, if I pull the camera back by holding F4 and pressing on the down arrow key or back arrow key, now we do not orbit our operator or character. We are orbiting behind them because we move the anchor point backwards. So that's what's happening when you use the arrow keys. It is also what is happening when you use page up and page down. You are moving an anchor that is in three-dimensional space that you cannot see. Now, to reset and go back to your default position, hold down F4 and hit the star key on your number pad. And that brings us back to center. Now, if you want to do a pan around your character and you don't want to move that anchor point, you're going to use what used to be called, I'm fairly certain was dynamic zoom is what CIG had it labeled in the settings. And you're going to hold down F4 and mouse wheel all the way out. Well, as far out as you want to go. But you mouse wheel out, right? And now when we hold down Z and spin our camera, it's still centered. So the dynamic zoom does not change the anchor point. And we can push that back in. Anchor point is not moving. It's only when we use the arrow keys, page up, page down. Okay, next we're going to take a look at is not dynamic zoom, but it's labeled as field of view. And that is going to be controlled by holding down F4 and on the numpad, the minus button and the plus button. The plus button is increasing field of view, while the minus button, the minus button is decreasing our field of view or zooming in. So we want to get a nice close-up on our actor here, or our player, whatever the case may be. We've hold down F4, zoom in with the minus button, and there we go. Now, you'll notice everything is very crystal clear in the background, which is fine if that's a shot you're looking for. For me, personally, to make it a little bit more cinematic, and it really depends on what's happening, we're going to play with our focus. Focus in this game is a little tricky, and it's very situational. So to change the focus, you're going to hold down F4 and you're going to hit your home key. That's going to change the focus. Okay. And if you hit end key, tap that, that's going to lessen the focus or make it less blurry. So there's our subject, and we've got a nice blur on the background, but our subject's also blurry. We want him to be a little bit more clear. So what we're going to have to do is, and you can do this a couple different ways. If you don't want your anchor point to move, you can try using the mouse wheel to pull out, and that gets them pretty clear there. But if you still want to stay on them a good bit, you may have to zoom. You can use the anchor point. So hold down your arrow keys and move that in and out. And it's going to be different with different situations. It kind of just depends on what you want to be in focus. So let's get about right here. And now I've moved my mouse wheel up. I'm pushing my mouse wheel up to try to maintain focus, because your mouse wheel is not going to affect your focus as much as moving your anchor point using the arrows. When I say anchor point, I'm talking about moving the camera using the arrows, when you hear me say that. But that's not going to affect it quite as much. The mouse wheel will not. So there we go. That looks pretty good there. Now let's see what that looks like. I think that looks pretty good. We got a nice soft blurred background. Our main actor here is very clear, so we can tell that he is the important part of the shot. We just got the background blurred. Okay, so to reset, hold down F4 and hit start, and now we're back here. F4 and star will always reset you to the default position. Now, one thing while filming, and it's probably going to be best for me to show you this with a camera just outside of our actor. So let's say there's something besides yourself you're wanting to film. Now let's just say is this up here, this transformer or whatever this receiver is up here. Let's say we want to get a capture of that walking by it. Now with my mouse settings on just the native settings of sensitivity, that's what it looks like. That's me trying to be as smooth as I can possibly be. It's a little jerky. It's not terrible, but it's not the best because my hands are only so smooth. So if we go into options and we go into controls under mouse, the two things that you're going to work with the most when you're filming is going to be mouse sensitivity and mouse smoothing. So for a shot like this, I'm going to pump it up to about 1.0. And I'll probably move my mouse sensitivity down to about right there. And this is going to be different based on what you're filming. If you're trying to film ships flying by, you're going to want the sensitivity to not be as numbed down. But if it's a stationary object like this right here, then you can get really, really smooth and not have to worry about tracking like you would a ship. A ship tracking, flying by, you need to be able to stay on that target. So, now let's do a walk by. And what I'm doing is I'm just holding down W to walk forward. And I'm also, at the same time, holding down Z to move my camera. And now you can see how much smoother that is compared to when with no mouse smoothing and the sensitivity high. That just looks so much better. And now, just to show you the difference, let's go back into controls and let's put the smoothing at 0.01 and the mouse sensitivity about 54. That's about where I would normally play the game at. And now we're going to try to track it. And right away, you can see how jerky that is. I'm trying to make very small movements, but you see how it jerks forward, about an inch at a time. And it just does not look as buttery smooth. So that is a very important tool that some people overlook or may not think about is the mouse smoothing. So I definitely recommend turning that up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is head tracking. And that's going to be underneath comms and FOIP and head tracking. And anything will be better than nothing to get some more unique angles. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is head tracking. Now, if you don't have anything, that's fine. But if you do have head tracking, either Tobii, TrackIR, or a webcam and using Beam Eye Tracker, anything that can track your head movement and or eyes is going to be an extra tool in the toolbox and is very, very valuable when doing any type of cinematics for Star Citizen. So depending on what I'm doing, the smoothing will change. Stuff like on the ground, I'm usually probably going to max out the global smoothing for head tracking. It just smooths everything. Now, this is going to be very variable depending on what kind of head tracking you're using, what your settings are down here for head and eye movement. So it really just depends on what your stuff's set at. So I don't really have a good answer for what these should be set at because everything's different. But just as an easy rule of thumb, smoother's usually better, and just pump them over here all the way to 100. Okay, so here we are. Now, if I turn my head tracking on, you can immediately see the camera is moving in all kinds of different ways it was not before. Now, you still maintain your original anchor. The best way to think about this is now the camera itself, will just imagine we are a camera. It is basically on a pivot point. So you can pivot left, you can pivot right, and forward and backwards and to the side. So just imagine it on a pivot point, and that's really the best way to think about it. Now you can get some really cool angles you could not without head tracking. For example, you turn your head sideways, like you're a confused dog that's heard a new sound, and now you get some nice Dutch angles. Okay, so a good example of something you can use the head tracking for. Let's say you got a scene where somebody is chasing your character, and let's just say they're going this way. If you want to look back at what's chasing you without head tracking, you have to hold down Z and turn your camera around to see what's back there, and that's fine. That may be the shot you want, and that'll look good. But you are having to change your perspective now. Now instead of being next to the guy, the camera's going in front of him. But now with head tracking, you can make it look a little bit more visceral. So let's get us a way to run right here. Man, this guy's having an asthma attack, isn't he? Okay, I had to respawn in with a new guy. The other one, he just couldn't run anymore. So let's see. We'll imagine something behind us. We're going to run that way. Let's make sure we got a straight shot to it. All right, so we got a straight shot that way. All right, let's get our camera set up. We're going to imagine a monster's chasing us. So start running. We're in trouble. Let's look back, see whatever's chasing us. There it is. Look back at our guy. And to me, that's a lot more visceral and makes it seem like it's a much more dangerous situation than if we're slinging our whole camera around. But that's up to you. That's more of an artistic thing. So to me, I like the shaky cam documentary style better for that particular situation. But again, that's going to just be artistic stuff. What you prefer, there's no right or wrong answer to that. Okay, so for ships are the same keybinds as it was on first person that we just did. There's nothing different. The only thing that is different is that you can save up to 9 different camera points. And what I mean by that is, if I want a camera here, I can move my camera over here using F4 and my arrow keys. There's my camera. Now I'm going to hold down F4 and hold down number 1. And now that camera is saved to that location. If I want to move it to this side of the ship, I can hold down F4, hold down number 2, and now that point is saved. So now if we hit star while holding down F4 just to reset our camera spot, now while holding F4, I can tap 1 and I can tap 2. Now we can bounce between those two camera positions, and you can have those 1 through 9, and it doesn't matter which one you use on your number pad. You make it whatever you want to make it. It even saves your depth of field and blurs. So let's just go really out of the box and just really make everything blurry. Let me zoom in. Okay, there we go. So really, really blurry. We're going to save that spot there. Go back to 2. It does not take the blur because the save saves everything. Your focus, your depth of field, everything. Field of view, all of it saves. And then the reset, hold F4, tap star. That brings you right back. Okay, and another cool thing you can do with saving these cameras is you can do something that's called the Hitchcock shot, or the shot from Jaws. And to get us kind of lined up here, this is where I kind of want to end up at. And with this ship, it's probably going to look pretty neat. But effectively what you're doing is you're moving the camera one way and you're zooming in the opposite direction. So as an example, if you're physically pulling a camera backwards while zooming in with the lens, it creates this kind of distortion effect. It's kind of trippy. that you see in Hitchcock movies, or Jaws is famous for it as well. So what we're gonna do is, this is pretty much where we kind of want to end up. So I'm going to pull my field of view all the way back. So I'm holding down F4 and I'm hitting my plus key. There's my field of view all the way as far back as I can get it. And our camera is pushed up right about there is where I want to land. All right, so I'm going to hold down F4 and save that camera location. All right, and now I'm going to pull the camera back by holding the back arrow or down arrow, whichever way you want to call it. So now we got that pulled back. Well, we probably don't need to be that far back. That might be too far. Let's be about right here. Okay, and now I'm going to hit the minus sign. So decrease the field of view to about there. Okay. Now I'm going to save that location. All right. Now when we toggle between them, we're getting that cool little warp effect. Let me look at the ground so you can really... Let's go get some... we need to get something behind us so you can really see it. There we go. Now we've got a backdrop. Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2. And you can really, like, depending on like how much of a warp you want, you know, it just all depends on how far away from the ship you get. You get some really cool effects that way. Just imagination's the limit. All right, everybody. So that is pretty much what I consider the basics of getting started doing any type of recording or cinema stuff or machinima inside of Star Citizen. There's a lot more we could cover. If y'all have interest in it, maybe storyboarding or scripts or kind of my process, I could certainly make some videos on that if there's interest in it. Again, I made this to really help people learn and get started to make their own content of making movies. That's my favorite game loop in Star Citizen is doing this stuff. I mean, I just have more fun doing it. I enjoy creating things. And yeah, if you guys want to help support the channel, the best way to do that is become a YouTube member or a Patreon member. That helps me out immensely and lets me be able to keep making these big projects I really love to work on. And yeah, I hope that helps you out, guys. I appreciate you, and y'all have a good one.